Hello, welcome back. I'm Jeff Byers. I'm the instructor for NE258, and this is part 2 of our video series. You need to have gone through the lesson content lectures. I've got a written lecture on textures versus materials you need to look at. Also, you need to go through all the Introduction to Materials in Unreal 4 lecture tutorial series. There's 4 of those, and that takes you through the whole gambit of creating a material from scratch into advanced material topics, and how to connect all of the materials together in a node-based system. And we also I showed you how to create a game level material list, and then took you through how to find substance materials through Substance Share. So make sure you download some of those. And I've got a video on finding substance materials, part 1. And then we have a downloading and using the Substance plugin lecture tutorial you need to watch. So there's a lot of information you need to actually go over before you even get into the prepping, which was part 1 of this video tutorial series on the course assignment. And now we're ready to go ahead and bring in the substance materials that you found and start manipulating those materials and seeing what we can do with our scene. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of some of these, just turn off some of these items that I don't need to show while I'm texturing so they don't get in the way. That can be really frustrating when you're trying to do and add materials. And I can't take out the light sources. I'm in the world outliner, so you can do that. I've just got 2 lights left and a couple lights inside. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with showing you where the other content or materials that come with the starter kit. So I'm going to go into the starter content under content and double click on that. You can see we can double click on these materials here. Now notice that it does come with some pretty decent materials that you can use, but I prefer instead of using these materials and just slapping them on, that you actually go and find some substance materials and take the time to add materials. But I want to take you through how to add materials and get them lined up and take you through that process real quick. So with just adding materials, I'm going to go ahead and just drag and drop. That's all you have to do. Let me talk about this real quick because I know you've gone through materials. If you want to see a material, just double click on it and it will open up the material editor, and you guys can see and make changes to this material or just kind of see how it was made, which is kind of cool. So that's kind of neat. And you can hit the F key and focus on stuff, and zoom in and hold the control key down with your right mouse button and kind of see how things were created and made. So it's kind of cool. Alright, so you can also disconnect things if you want to, and then just close it back down and it won't save. It will ask if you want to save. Don't save it, because otherwise you will destroy what materials you do have in here. Okay, so be really careful that you do not save when you're messing with when you're messing with materials that are pre-made for you and in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop, and you can see that the texture is scaled small. So I can make that a little bit larger if I'd like to, especially depending on the scale that you want to see that at. If this is our stones, but I think they're larger stones, so it's scaled way too small. So what I would end up doing is just double clicking on that. So I double click on the object that has the texture on there. You can also see that you've got your texture element here, that you can easily open that up anytime. And we have our alignment set up here, so if I need to align these textures again, I can go in there and select matching material, or just select adjacent walls, or however what selection item you want to choose, and then you can select the align surface planar, and that'll kind of line everything back up again. You can pan the texture back and forth, okay, just like you see here. Okay, and you can pan it back and forth. Okay, you can see it's moving this way now. Okay, you can rotate the texture if you want to. you can flip the texture U and you can flip the texture V, and you can also, this is the part I wanted to talk to you about, is the scaling. So if I go to 2 on this and to 2 on this one, and then you have to click apply, then you see that that's done get larger. You can see that's a little bit better than we had before. I still think that's a little bit small. So let's go ahead and go something like 3 and 3, and sometimes you just don't know and apply. You don't know until you play the level to see if that's correct. So let's go ahead and at this point go ahead and build. Okay, I'm going to pause. Okay, so we're completed with that. So let's go ahead and check this out. Go ahead and play the level and let's see what that looks like. And that looks about right. The cobblestones look just about right for the scale of the player, and that's what you kind of have to look at to make sure that the scale is correct. And you just have to do that almost with every texture that you put on to see what it actually looks like compared to the character itself. So let's go ahead and escape that. Let's get back out here. So it's not rocket science to create or to transform these textures. It does take a little more effort to get these to line up. Let's say you have an outside wall with brick and you want the corners to match up. It takes a little more time to do that and more finessing, and then you got a problem, troubleshoot that. But let's go ahead, and you know how to do basic materials. You could easily drag and drop grass on here too as well, which makes it super easy. Again, you have to really watch scale. Okay, so if you know the scale doesn't look right and you play it and it still doesn't look like, you look down and still, this actually looks pretty good scale wise. You just have to watch that kind of thing happening there, and I really will be kind of picky about scale if you really don't understand scale and your textures are way too big. So if I see a brick texture on here and it's ginormous, you'll get points taken off just because it doesn't look realistic. It makes everything look like a toy. Or if your grass is way too small, for instance, like this grass looks okay, but if I go in here and double click on it, and right now it's at 3, okay, and I want to type in 6, let's say 6 on that and 6 on this one and apply. It's at this level it looks a little strange. Maybe if I play it, it doesn't look strange. So let's go ahead and build, and I'm going to go ahead and pop. Alright, so let's go ahead and play it and see if it looks okay. Alright, so we start in the same spot, come out, and just kind of look at the grass, and it looks too large to me. Okay, now it looks too large. So it's something that you've just got to look at, and it's not like outrageously large, okay, but you can tell something's not quite right, and that just looks too big. I mean, the texture size is too big. Alright, so let's go back and make that adjustment, and I think it was okay before. And again, just take some tweaking. So take your time and do this right and get textures aligned properly. Alright, with that said, then let's go ahead. I don't really want you guys using these textures that are in that are actually in Unreal that come with it. There's time for that later. Right now, I think I really want you guys and find 8 different textures so you can test out the Substance Painter plugin. Okay, so to do that, you need to install the plugin. So you have to go on the Marketplace, Unreal Marketplace, and download, and then you need to install the plugin, and then you can go to Plugins and then enable it. Once you're done, you go ahead and enable that, and it's going to want to restart your scene. Okay, so make sure you save what you have done here and make sure you're all set up. Alright, so let's go back to content, get out of starter content. Let's go back into my modules, and you can see that I've created a material folder. So I want you to do that again. Just, I mean, you haven't done that yet. I did that earlier, but it's there. So I want you to create a new folder called Materials, okay? And then I want you to double click on that, and you should see this should be blank, okay? I've already inserted something, one of the substances. So what I'm going to do is once that's open, I'm going to go to Import, and then you can see that I've got my substance materials all lined up here that I would like to use. And you can see I found ground grass. Okay, let's go ahead and open that up. Again, I want you using substance materials for this assignment. Do not use the starter content materials. Okay, I will take points off if you do that. So I want you to find your own materials out there, substance material for this assignment. So the only thing we need to do is just create material and import. Okay, and there we go. Let's talk about what we see here. So we've got our grass material. That's what you drag and drop into your scene. It takes a while to refresh. There we go. And you can get a closer view of that. And of course you can you know, like it or not like it and do something else. So I got a couple different grass textures here. You also want to look at scale and size. It looks pretty good. So what we're going to want to do is we want to change that. You could go in here, okay, and make that change in here if you'd like. So right now I think it looks okay. So if I went to maybe let's say 4, let's go to 4 and then 4 on that and apply it. It's going to be quite a bit bigger. And again, I have to check that scale and play it, but I'm not going to do that right now. But you can also, there's other things that you can add, and what I love about substance materials is that you can change the parameters of the materials itself, and some materials have more parameters than others. But with this one here, I'm going to go the grass instance, okay, and you can see that that one works together with this one, so I'm going to double click on that. And what that's going to do is that's going to open up this one I can't do much, okay. I can change the output size to 2048, which is really pretty cool. You couldn't do that because that's procedural. You can do that sort of thing. You can have normal intensity, meaning you can really pump that, you know, have the grass look like it stands up more or comes out more. And there isn't really a whole lot of things you can do with this one. Okay, this is probably not a good one to have an example on, but there's some in here that are really pretty amazing. Okay, so we'll take you through some of them. This one you can't change much, but I have a Parquet Floor in there that is pretty amazing. So anyway, so you can change that. You can change the scale and size. You can rotate the grass, just like we talked about before. You can move the grass around, okay? Again, just whatever you'd like to do. And then we're going to go inside. You can see that I'm going to kind of work on the floor and see what we can do with that. So I'm going to click on one of the pieces of the floor, and I'm going to go ahead and import one of my Parquet floors, which is really pretty cool. Let's go ahead and import that. Alright, and we'll wait for that one to come up, and this is pretty involved, so I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that on that. Okay, that looks pretty good, and then drag it and drop it on this one here. There we go. And you can see that the floor looks pretty good, pretty amazing, but it's just scaled wrong. It's scaled off. And you can see that if I click on the wall, that it's seamless. Look how seamless that is, and I've got two different pieces. You can see that this alignment aligned surface planar actually worked really well on that. So if I click on the wall, you can see how seamless that is. It's just really super small. So that's the first thing we're going to change on this. And with that said, you can see that my substance graph instance, if I double click on that, we've got a whole slew of really cool things we can do with this. The color of the walnut, we can change the color. The first thing I want to do is change the size to 2048 by 2048. Even though this is a small area, you want to kind of up that a little bit. And you can literally go in there and make changes to the way it looks. So if I want black walnut instead of American walnut, I can do that by just simply clicking on this, and that will change the way that looks. You can click on the wood roughness to see if it is really glossy or is it flat. It's been actually trampled on and used, or you can have it brand new and have it almost like a mirror, almost like it's wet. So there's lots of ways of changing these attributes and creating exactly the materials that you want. So I think the thing I want to do now is, you kind of know how to go into these. You can make changes. A lot of it is just experimentation, so please do so. And then I'm going to close this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scale this up to something like 5 and 5 and see where that takes me. And as far as a large, let's see how that looks. I'm going to do the same thing with that guy over here, and that will be 5 and 5. And we'll go ahead and set this up, and it might be a little bit too big. Let's just take a look, and let's go ahead and build. I'll go ahead and pause. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and play. Let's take a look at it. And this is a large parquet floor, and I think that looks pretty good for the scale of the room. These are about, maybe 2 feet by 2 feet parquet floors set up, and it might be a little bit too big. Let's go ahead and make that change, but that looks pretty good. I like how the light is reflecting off there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape and just double click on it and just change this to something like maybe 3.5 and 3.5. See if that's too small, and apply. There we go. That might be better. Let's do the same thing with this one. 3.5 and 3.5. Okay. Alright, I think that's good. Double click on that one, and they're both 3.5. And so I'm going to go ahead and pause it and build it again, and then come back again and test it out. Okay, I'm back and we built it, and so I'm going to go ahead and test it out, see how that looks. And that looks pretty good. Right? Yeah, it was a little bit too large before, but that looks about right for a parquet floor, even a large one. I could go larger, but I think that's pretty good. Let's keep that size. And I like the richness of it. The grass is too large, so I'll fix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we'll wait to do the walls in the next video. So we'll continue working on this and messing around with the textures. So you can start seeing it. You're getting some good results with the substance materials, and that plugin's working out great. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll go to the next part, and I'll see you in part 3. Right.